I count myself as part of that group. I've helped people in Congress to introduce an amendment that would try specifically to overturn Citizens United. It was introduced by Donna Edwards just a few days ago. But it may be the case that the very things that make us want to change the influence of corporate money on politics will make it essentially inconceivable that Congress would propose that amendment to the states. Now, if we get that kind of lockdown, which is what I think led, though he can certainly speak for himself, Larry Lessig to suggest the exploration of a new convention, then I think we're at least in the territory where there's perhaps a plausible systemic case for a limited purpose convention, assuming enough people can be convinced that it could be limited. I don't think, and that's why I think it's sort of an interesting question whether we can take the people who favor a convention in that direction, which I would say the left direction, and those who favor a convention to restrict the national debt or a convention to restrict national power over commerce. It's hard for me to imagine how those two vectors can come together. And it's the second impulse, which I think is largely, though I can't speak for the Tea Party, I don't know that I understand all of its philosophies, but I think that that's a large part of what animates the Tea Party. Smaller national government, less taxes, smaller debt. Now, I don't see ordinary politics as incapable of producing that. They've been pretty damn successful in moving in that direction so far. So I don't see that as similar in a structural sense to the Citizens United problem. And if we're going to limit the experiment of an Article 5 convention to situations where we really have a plausible argument that we are inherently locked out of making a change through the ordinary amendment process, if we're going to limit it in that way, then I don't see that as a plausible occasion for having a convention.
If I may just quickly. Very quickly.
Very quickly.
First of all, thank you for having the flexibility to acknowledge that there is a point in time for an Article 5 convention. I think one of the most valuable things that could happen out of this conference for folks such as you who are skeptical is to really lay out parameters as to when you would become comfortable. And we could have a debate within those parameters, and you know what? We might find that you're ready for an Article 5 convention. And the other thing is, we were all in this room when 98% of the people in the room said they opposed TARP. Now, there may be pet ways that each, the left and the right, have, specific legislative proposals that they would prefer in the ideal world to have passed. But we all recognize the core problem, right? And there's got to be a way to think creatively to find a consensus on addressing that core problem. Maybe not the ideal way, but a way that gets us to 38 states.
So I'd just like to ask Sandy one question, then we're going to have questions from the audience, and I'd invite